We cover 3,100 miles from sea to shining sea, from Atlantic to the Pacific. We had several goals in mind when we started. First of all, we were hoping that dozens, maybe hundreds of motorcyclists would join us on the trip. We were hoping for large groups of people to show up at the various rallies. We were praying for local organizations that would come together and just share their resources to fight for the cause. We were praying for individuals that take upon themselves to be the point person at each location. And we were praying for awareness of the national extent of this issue and how people can have an impact in their own local community. We want to be able to communicate how we can help as an organization, help those have that national awareness and ability to assist. And I believe we met most of those goals. The first couple we didn't, but that's okay, because later on as I was writing back, I was thinking if we had all these guys coming with us, we would have focused a lot on taking care of them instead of taking care of the ministry opportunities that we had at each location. We met people in organizations all along the way that have already started the process of helping assist these girls that are coming out of sex trafficking in our country. 300,000, as I mentioned, that are in it every year. And locally, organizations are starting the process, but what happens is that it's a national problem. Girls are moved across state lines, and that's why we chose the I-10 corridor, because they're moved across that every few days. We were in San Antonio eating lunch with some of the hill country riders, and one of them told us that that morning, 7 whatever in the morning, a 12-year-old girl just narrowly escaped being picked up. She was walking to school. A guy drove up in a car, got out, started walking alongside her, put his arm around her, started talking to her, and she kind of realized what was going on. Somebody behind her saw it also, and when she struggled to get away, he went after him, and the guy jumped in the car and drove off. It was that close. One of 300,000 girls. When we got to Phoenix, the exact same thing happened, another 12-year-old girl that very morning. So which made it obvious to us that it was something that we really need to focus on. I want to thank Kenny publicly for being such a support to me. He rode 1,500 miles by the time he got up to us. Go Kenny. By the time he got to Jacksonville and then to Pensacola and then rode all the way back home, it totaled out to be about 1,500 miles. And I really want to thank you for your support that you gave me. We started at Calvary Kendall. They served us breakfast. Those are the shirts that we gave out, and you give you a chance to get those as well. We also got these flyers that we used at rest stops, gas stations, any place we ate. It's a two-sided flyer provided by Truckers Against Trafficking, and they provided them for us, put our logo on it and everything, and we handed those out everywhere we went all along the way. We hit the I-10 in Jacksonville, and in Jacksonville, we met with a group of people that was sponsored by the Bikers for Christ. They had a meeting there, it went really well. We took off from there and headed west. We met people along the way that had no idea. First of all, Soul Media is the organization that I volunteer with to do this project, as well as many more projects that are coming up in the next year here. But our goal is to help organizations collaborate together. It's not something that one organization can do. It's not something that an organization locally can do. It's a national issue, $80 million a day business, and there's a lot of invested interest in that. And so we collaborate with organizations all across the country, and that was part of the purpose of this trip. We met with people everywhere we went, gas stations, restaurants, and so on, and they see our shirt, and they ask about it, and it's amazing. People have no clue. They know about the trafficking that comes in from other countries. We're the only country in the world that traffics its own children. Other countries send their kids here, their women, their children, whatever, and they sell them here. We pick them up and we sell them here in our own country because the market is so strong here. And so one of the things that we've talked about in many of the organizations that we met with is just the idea that the men in their congregations, when we met with pastors and so on, there has to be a revival of men being men against trafficking. A pastor up there on the right side, left side, I guess, he was up at 8:30 or stayed up till 8:30 in the morning. Not that it's late, but he waited at the church. The town was kind of deserted, but we rode in 8:30 in Fort Stockton, not that big a town, and he personally greeted us and welcomed us, provided housing for us, and they're prepared to house as many people as we ever want to bring there. They can house up to 200 people actually in that place. It's amazing. But they are ready now to do an outreach to the two major truck stops that are on either end of the town. And that's a common place, a very popular place where trafficking goes through. We made it to the I-10, and that's the ocean on the back. We're thankful for the safety of the ride. We did not even have to pull out our rain gear going there. It doesn't say what I'd had to do when I come back, but that's another story I'll tell you personally. But you can help. This is something that happens everywhere. You're not immune from it in your community, if you work somewhere, if you're in a school somewhere, in this church. It's going to happen if it hasn't happened already and you don't know about it. It's something that's very, very powerful. Again, it's a money maker. $80 million a day is nothing to sneeze at, and people make their, it's a strong sin that's in our world right now. The opportunity, you can become a defender. You can get one of these shirts. We have pins that are hand painted by survivors, girls that have come out of the system, and that we help provide counseling, therapy, place to live, mentoring program, jobs, etc. But you can become a defender. You can help whether you sponsor somebody, whatever you do, you can go to the website and assist that way. Or locally we have outreaches. Next slide. We have outreaches with Sharing One Love, SOL stands for Sharing One Love. And those are in communities all over Miami, Fort Lauderdale, the Palms, all over South Florida right now. And we have one in Hialeah. They've highlighted and spotted areas in Hialeah that are areas that are typical places where girls get picked up. And what we are looking for volunteers to get involved in assisting with that. We're going to put you in a precarious or dangerous position, but a place where you can bring information to those, whether it's storekeepers or gas stations or motels, the clerks in the motel, you hand them the sheet and you show them, these are girls that are missing in this area. Please call this number if you see them. Lots of ways you can get involved. It's something that's hopefully doesn't affect you, but it seems like it's just almost inevitable. It's going to affect some small community here. So I thank you again for your prayers and support for this mission. It's not over yet. It's just the beginning. But this was the inaugural trip that we first took, and we appreciate that very much.
Guys, my name's Didonna, and I'm actually one of your missionaries that were sent out from IBB to the University of Central Florida, and I'm so excited to be here. It's been 6 months since I was last here, and about a year ago, God had placed a dream on my heart and a few others' hearts to see a church planted at the University of Central Florida because there's such a big need for students to know Jesus. And about 6 months ago, God made it a reality through your passion for missions and your passion to see the gospel go forward. So very thankful for you guys. And in those 6 months, we went from a new church plant to now having 80 students involved in what we're doing. Sometimes as much as 100 students. Here's actually some of the guys that are involved in our ministry right now. And if you can go to the next slide. 6 months ago, we were meeting in a coffee shop. And it was a small little coffee shop. A few of you have actually been there near UCF. But then we broke the fire code, which is a really good thing. So we broke the fire code, got kicked out of the coffee shop, and ended up in this restaurant right nearby UCF. And this restaurant owner actually gave us his space to meet there for free every week. He was a Christian. He loved what we were doing. But sadly, he actually went out of business a few weeks ago. But God has moved us on somewhere else. We've been meeting on campus the last few weeks, but it's just way too expensive. The University of Central Florida does not like Christians. There's a lot of persecution on the college campus. People just don't like Christians. And so they were charging us double what they should have been charging us. But God provided a place. We're actually moving to a hotel right across from the campus. The first service there is tonight. So that's something to praise God about. And also, also about 80 to 90% of everyone who comes in to our Sunday gathering is involved in a small group. And that's just, it's incredible to see what God's doing. I'll give you one tangible story of what God's doing at UCF. There's a lot more, but here's one. about 3 months ago, a young man got arrested at UCF for driving under the influence of alcohol on campus. And luckily, God allowed me to connect with him. And we're all about connecting with people who are broken, people who need to know the hope of Jesus. And through this connection that God gave me with this young man, he actually started following Jesus. And as of a couple weeks ago, he told me he wants to be a pastor. So you have this one kid, you have a kid who is driving on campus completely drunk, 3 months later following Jesus. And it's just a testament of what God's doing at UCF. And you guys are a huge part of that. I want to thank you. And I'm looking forward to the next time I can come here and to give you more reports. So thank you guys.
So I bet when you got up to come to church today, you didn't know you were going to get to travel all over the world and hear a lot of reports. Could I have the Chile team up here, please? You're next. You know, we have staff meeting, and somewhere back there 6 months ago, they put a whole preaching schedule together for the rest of the year, and then we started getting calls from all our missionaries. I think we have 5 or 6 of our missionaries in town this weekend, and so all of a sudden, they're the priority, as they should be, and everything else got changed. But it also worked out the same day that we were going to give our report on the trip to Chile. David's not here with us, and he's with his father this weekend, but many of you know that a year ago, Laz and I went to Chile to do a women's retreat at a camp. And it's a camp that we've had a long history with this ministry, with our missionary, Janet Curtis. And I just noticed that the camp, again, has been there for 38 years. Several here have been there, and Russell has spoken there many, many times. But I just noticed that it needed a facelift. And she's on a very limited amount of support, and the things are running, and there's probably, 50 churches that use this camp consistently. But I just came back burdened that maybe we could give it a facelift. So I talked to Noel and the guys who went on the Puerto Rico trip a couple years ago, and we started putting things together. And here was our challenge. First of all, nobody had been there but me. So even though I took pictures, they kept saying, and what does the foundation look like? And I didn't know. I said, I have pictures. Well, what's behind the drywall? I don't know. I just have pictures. And so our challenge was there was camp going on the weekend we got there. We got there on a Saturday, but there was camp going on until Monday night. And then a new group of camp was going to start the Friday night before we left. So we had 5 days to evaluate what was behind the pictures, see what fit within the budget, try to rent tools and negotiate prices and get everything done in those 5 days that we had. And it truly was an adventure. I went along to be the cook, and they ate really, really good. You'll see in the pictures. And so I've just asked a few of the guys to share with you what the trip meant. In your bulletin, there's a letter from Janet to the whole church that you can read on your own time as she expressed her thankfulness to us. So who's first?
I drew the short straw. So I saw the brochure that said, wanted several men to leave their homes and loved ones to travel to another land far, far away. On someone else's land, we're going to be toiling for an average of about 14 hours a day, sometimes more, so that others may enjoy the fruit of your labor. While that ad may not be considered appealing at first glance, it was a call that was answered by 8 men from this church, and they allowed God's hand to guide them in accomplishing what seemed to be an insurmountable number of projects on a list filled with multiple roadblocks. John 4:38 says, I have sent you to reap a harvest in a field where you did not work. Others worked here, and you profit from their work. It was nice to be the others in that verse. We are the others. We're not going to see the immediate fruits of our labor, but we recognize that we prepared God's land for others to come and reap souls for our Father in the future. Janet shared with us how there were some campers that went there as youths and have come back in their adult years and requested to use that campground to hold very significant ceremonies such as being married there. So if that place is that important for someone to come back and they experience such an impact that they want to come back and be married there, then it's important enough for us to go and keep it looking presentable. In return for our work, we didn't realize that God was building relationships. And there were relationships based on true values such as work ethic and consideration for others' needs before your own. The physical work we left behind may last another 30 years, but the opportunity for Janet Lingo to provide a safe place where God can transform lives is eternal. And we are all humbled by having been chosen to be part of that. I'll leave you with one final verse that we often use for motivation, and it's Colossians 3:23. In all the work you are given, do the best you can. Work as though you are working for the Lord, not an earthly master.
Morning. Well, for me, this was my second trip, and trip was similar to the Puerto Rico trip where we got here, a little painting, a couple benches, and needless to say, when we got there, it was we were facing a monster. And I have to tell you, around Wednesday, my level of stress was increasing because I didn't think we were going to finish. So I had to sit back, and that night when I was in the cabin, I said, you know what, I'm not in control. I'm just a tool that's being used here. And I'm just going to work hard, try to keep my crew safe, and let's see what happens. And 12 hours, 16 hours, 14 hours later, we were able to complete the task at hand, which I got to tell you, I wasn't sure we were going to be able to. But the impact that it had on Janet was well worth the 80, 90 hours that we put in. And I got to tell you that I'll speak for the team. We're looking forward to the next one. California. I got to tell you, I'm a little nervous because I'm already hearing it's just a little painting. But it's at the end, it's worth what we leave, you know. The way we impacted Janet and Charlie over there, for me, it was worth the 80 hours, and we'll be willing to go back again to anywhere we need to go.
All right. Where was I? Just lost everything I was going to say. No, I think I'm cured because the first Sunday we were there, Dave comes up to me and goes, we're going to be at a church service, and we're going to have to say a little something about our church back home in front of that other church. I go, sure, I'm all for it. I'll think of something. So I'm standing, we go up, me, Janet, and David. Janet's here, David's here, and I'm behind them. And they speak first, and then they go, okay, Oz is going to tell you his testimony, and they walk off. So I think I'm pretty much cured, but what I want to say is we worked a lot of hours. We really did work a lot of hours, but we laughed just as hard, and we really did have a good time doing it. And what we left was a big impression on Janet from over there. We secured her livelihood, I think, for the rest of her life there. And what I want to say is that I asked God to show me what he wanted me to see, because I had been to Puerto Rico and I know it was a lot of work, but I didn't take time to ask him to show me something. But this time he did. He just showed me that when you talk about missionaries, I used to think of somebody out there, and then when you go there, if you get an opportunity, go there and see the work that they're doing on a personal level. I tell you, it's worth every penny that you give to that. I mean, what we take for granted here, you guys live in the best country in the world, and what we throw away, with what we throw away, they can live on. I mean, first thing they did was hand us a plastic cup the first day we were there and say, this is your cup for the rest of the week. There's no paper cups, paper plates, everything gets reused. Your money is well spent over there, and that's what I got out of it. The people that are using this money, they're making it stretch it out and making it work for them as much as they could. So I was looking at the bulletin this morning, and it just put a burden there. We're $5,000 under budget for the missions, the missionaries and the missions. And I just ask you, there's about 200 people here. If you can do $10 this week and $10 next week, we should cover that mission and give them a good Christmas gift to be able to send them that extra money that they would need for their families. And that's all I got. We have so much and we're so blessed, and just think about that. Thank you.